Basketball season is finally back, with preseason underway and the regular season starting right around the corner, which means our favorite teams are back playing on our TVs every night, and the raging debates that come from what we will see will start to ramp up as it always does. Everybody loves to throw their hat in the ring of making bold proclamations and predictions that may sound crazy in the moment, but down the line they may have a sneakily real chance of happening, and that's exactly what we're here to do in today's video. Today we'll be going through all 30 NBA teams, and we'll be making one bold prediction for each group, as every team has a certain set of expectations placed on them going into the new season, but no team escapes the unpredictability that is professional sports. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only would it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Going in alphabetical order, we'll start with the Atlanta Hawks, and our bold prediction for them is that Trae Young will finish in the top 5 of MVP voting this season. The Hawks quietly had one of the best off seasons of any team in the whole league, and with these new additions of Kristaps Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, along with the return of Jalen Johnson to the court, the Hawks have all of the two-way firepower to make a lot of noise. I can easily see them shooting up the standings as long as they can stay healthy, with this being the strongest defense that they've had around Trae Young, along with way more floor spacing shooters to open things up for Trae as a playmaker. Everything is setting up to make Trae Young's life easy, and with him already leading the NBA in assists without even having that much firepower around him last year, that's something that is easily replicatable, only now I think he's also going to be able to convert more efficiently as a scorer. If the Hawks make a push near the top of the East, which I think is very doable with how wide open the conference is, then Trae's incredible production is going to get the credit that it deserves. And while I'm not here to say that he will win the MVP award with the amount of top-tier superstars producing at an unmatchable clip, I do think he will garner some votes, and at least be seen as a candidate for the first time in his career. Next is the Boston Celtics, and our bold prediction for them is that they trade away another key part of their core before the season ends. The Celtics used this offseason to hit the reset button, trading away Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday, while also letting Al Horford and Luke Kornet leave in free agency. With Jason Tatum out for the year injured, they're embracing a mini rebuild, which is smart in theory, but difficult to get the actual humans that are naturally competitive fully on board. The Celtics have become used to success year in and year out, so with players like Jaylen Brown and Derek White in the prime of their careers and Peyton Pritchard starting to break out, they may not be happy losing in the short term, which could result in some more shuffling happening. Next is the Brooklyn Nets, and our bold prediction for them is that they win fewer than 15 games this season. There's bad, and then there is historically bad, which is what this win total would put them at. The fewest amount of games a team has ever won in a season is 9, and only 10 other teams in the history of the NBA have won fewer than 15 games over the course of an 82-game season. But I think the Nets are about to join that group. There's just nothing that makes me believe this is a team that can actually function at the level those around them can on either end. On offense, they're being led by two ball-stopping shot chuckers in Cam Thomas and Michael Porter Jr., who have rightfully been criticized throughout their careers for their terrible shot diet and their decision-making. The rookie class coming in is made up almost entirely of poor shooters that probably can't even share the floor together because of their clashing skill sets. They literally have zero veteran leadership on the roster, with the oldest player they have being 28 years old, and 90% of the roster is made up of guys with only a handful of a few seasons of experience, and that to me just seems like it's all a recipe for disaster. Next is the Charlotte Hornets, and their bold prediction is that LaMelo Ball will be traded by the end of the season. This is going to be LaMelo's 6th season with the team, which is a long time for a player to be viewed as the face of the franchise with nothing notable to show for it. The Hornets have not made the playoffs once in the LaMelo Ball era so far. LaMelo himself has developed some more bad habits over the last few seasons, and his maturity has been questioned by higher-ups in the Hornets front office, according to several reports. This is a team losing patience in him, and his ability to be a leader, so while he has obvious natural talent, he may not be someone that the team can afford to build around for much longer. If the team doesn't prove they can be competitive this season, some tough questions will be asked, and if they get a tempting offer on the trade market for him, they'll likely be inclined to take it. Next is the Chicago Bulls, and their bold prediction is that Josh Giddey will lead the team in rebounding. The Bulls are in a transition period, gradually finding the pieces they want to establish in their core as they scale back the usage of others that they don't see as being long parts of their plan. And that may include Nikola Vucevic, who has been the team's leading rebounder since his arrival in 2021, but with him about to turn 35 years old and his defensive impact regressing every year, this may be the time that they scale back his minutes or trade him entirely. Josh Giddey, meanwhile, started to really break out in the last few months of last season, averaging 8 rebounds per game on the whole year, but in the final month and a half, he was averaging 20 points, 9.5 rebounds per game, and 8 assists along with it. So now that he's back in command full-time, I think there's a level of production that he can put up over the long run similar to that. So even though it's weird to think about a point guard leading the team in rebounding, Giddey is a unique talent finding his groove. Next is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and their bold prediction is that they will not finish in the top 3 of the Eastern Conference standings this season. The Cavaliers were the 1 seed last season with the league's #1 ranked offense, but when you fail to turn that level of success into a notable playoff run, it can be very deflating for a core that is running it back mostly untouched, besides replacing Ty Jerome and Isaac Okoro with Lonzo Ball. Just ask the Philadelphia 76ers, who were the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference in 2021, but suffered a similar second-round exit in the playoffs, and things have progressively gone downhill since that disappointment. You're not always guaranteed to keep building on the success that you've had if you can't capitalize on the momentum in the moment. It's also unlikely that they will be the league's #1 offense again, because no team has led that category in back-to-back seasons since the peak Golden State Warriors dynasty years. And while the East is very wide open, that also means that the much improved Orlando Magic and Atlanta Hawks could be coming on hard, and the 76ers could easily bounce back with a season of better health. Next is the Dallas Mavericks, and their bold prediction is that they will finish the year with a top 5 ranked defense. The Dallas Mavericks achieved a lot of success in the Luka Doncic era, but in his 7 seasons with the team, the Mavericks ranked in the bottom half of the league defensively for 6 of them. They were typically able to overcome these defensive struggles thanks to the offensive powerhouse that Luka was, but now he's gone, which means the Mavericks have a brand new identity that I think will shock a lot of people. Anthony Davis is one of the NBA's best defenders that has yet to win the Defensive Player of the Year award. Derek Lively is blossoming into an elite rim protector, PJ Washington fights very hard and provides useful versatility on that end, and rookie Cooper Flagg was the #1 prospect this season not only for his ability to be a 20-point scorer, but also because he is a truly elite defensive talent with all the makings of a future all-defense member. Next is the Denver Nuggets, and their bold prediction is that they will finish the year with the #1 ranked offense. The Nuggets are locked and loaded, ready to bounce back and re-emerge in the hunt for another championship after an offseason where they got aggressive and addressed all of their glaring weaknesses. Nikola Jokic has always been capable of carrying an offense to great lengths almost single-handedly, but the Nuggets have never been the #1 overall offense, which could change now. With Cam Johnson replacing Michael Porter Jr. with much smarter decision-making and equally good shooting, a new-look bench unit that can actually be relied upon unlike bench units of years past, and a starting five as rock solid as it gets, this team will be able to put you in so many different situations where they can beat you, and when all else fails, Nikola Jokic will always be able to take things upon himself to lift them up, so it's not enough to just predict a close to top finish. They should be the very best offense. Next is the Detroit Pistons, and their bold prediction is that Ausar Thompson will finish top 3 in the Defensive Player of the Year voting. His brother, Amen Thompson, on the Rockets is currently the one getting all of the love by the general public, and I'm not here to say that Amen doesn't deserve it, but what I am going to say is that I don't think enough people are aware of how close Ausar is to breaking out and either matching his brother's level or surpassing it. Amen was named first team all-defense last season, but Ausar may actually have the higher upside on that end, and if he hadn't struggled through injuries in the middle of the season, could have proven it sooner. In the playoffs, we saw Ausar Thompson make life hell for Jalen Brunson every game of that Pistons-Knicks series, and with Ausar on the court in the playoffs, the Pistons were a whopping 14.8 points better per 100 possessions, so year 3 is about to be a big one for this defensive talent. Next is the Golden State Warriors, and their bold prediction is that Jonathan Kuminga becomes a leading Sixth Man of the Year candidate. Kuminga's summer was hectic, with his camp making it clear he wants to find a home that will allow him to break out, and his time in Golden State has been nothing but inconsistent roles year after year, and a coach that clearly doesn't trust him. The fact that he was basically forced to re-sign with them due to restricted free agency isn't exactly inspiring either, but I'm looking at this with a glass half full perspective. Kuminga is basically once again in a contract year where he's going to be going all out trying to earn a big contract that he believed he was worth this summer, and the Warriors didn't make enough off-season moves to reduce his role any further, so they need him at his best on the floor. He showed what he could do in the playoffs at the end of last season, scoring 30 points, 23 points, and 26 points back-to-back-to-back to conclude their playoff run, and for a team in need of more offensive creation, he's going to get the opportunities. Next is the Houston Rockets, and their bold prediction is that Amen Thompson makes the All-Star team. As you can tell, I am a very big fan of both of these twins, and am confident that everything is setting up for a big leap from both. Thompson is already one of the NBA's best defensive talents, and offensively he's shown he can still be a dangerous slasher and finisher at the basket with his otherworldly athleticism and his top-tier finishing skills, but with the injury of Fred VanVleet, Thompson is now going to be thrust into way more on-ball usage at point guard, and with more usage, I believe will come some big-time production. He averaged 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists per game last year, while splitting time coming off the bench and in the starting lineup, without being used nearly as much as a primary ball handler. In a role with more on-ball action, I can easily see him putting up about 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 or 6 assists per game, and that combined with his elite defensive playmaking ability will have him firmly in the mix for an All-Star nomination. Next is the Indiana Pacers, and their bold prediction is that Jay Huff will double his scoring output from a year ago. The Pacers were one win away from glory last year, and now all of a sudden things look bleak. With Tyrese Halliburton out for the year and Miles Turner gone, the Pacers will be experimenting more with their lineups and rotations, and Jay Huff was brought in as a potential Miles Turner replacement. It's not exactly the most exciting replacement in the world, as Huff only really has 1 season's worth of experience in an NBA rotation, but last year in Memphis, he did establish himself as a useful stretch big man that can knock down threes efficiently and attack the basket when the opportunity presents itself. He's basically going to be in a bigger role by default in Indiana, and with that kind of skill set, the points will come. Next is the Los Angeles Clippers, and our bold prediction for them is that they will be a top 2 seed in the Western Conference. Nobody has anything good to say about the Clippers right now, and honestly I don't blame them because they have dominated headlines for the wrong reasons, with their best player Kawhi Leonard being under investigation in a potential fraudulent scandal. The truth nobody is addressing though is that that situation is going to take quite a long time to play out, meaning Kawhi is not going anywhere, and the basketball side of things things are actually looking up for them. This is a group that dominated the offseason, bringing in John Collins, Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, and Brook Lopez to an already pretty stout playoff lock, and after being a top 3 ranked defense last year, they now have way more offensive firepower throughout their rotation to be one of the most well-balanced and deep units in the whole league. Next is the Los Angeles Lakers, and their bold prediction is that DeAndre Ayton will be traded before the trade deadline. The Lakers were desperate to find any playable center this offseason, and after a difficult search, they ended up landing Ayton, which is not the most inspiring outcome. Ayton's effort has been questionable for years now, with his time in Phoenix coming to an end on a sour note because of that, and his time in Portland seeing his defensive effort dip substantially, with his impact metrics backing up what the eyes were seeing. He's a former number 1 overall pick because he has undeniable skill, but he's just not a player who will come in and shore up a struggling defense, and that's what the Lakers need from their center position, which leads me to believe they will be back on the hunt for another answer by the trade deadline. Next is the Memphis Grizzlies, and their bold prediction is that Ja Morant will average a new career high in points this season. The Grizzlies traded away Desmond Bane this summer, which hurts in the short term, but with a new head coach and a new system along with it, the ball will be back in Ja Morant's hands a lot more, and the two sides are motivated to get back on track after a few down years of production and struggle by both Morant and the team. Ja's career high in points is 27.4 per game in the 2022 season, which is a lofty number to exceed, but there is no more injury or off-court storylines hanging over Ja Morant's head to distract him or hold him back. Next is the Miami Heat, and their bold prediction is that Norman Powell will average 25 points per game. Powell has never been anything close to a 25-a-night player, putting up a career-best 22 per game last year. And I'm well aware of how tough it is to average 25 per game. With that said though, now that Powell is in Miami, who have consistently ranked in the bottom third of the league on offense and are looking to him to be a bit of a Jimmy Butler replacement, he'll be in a higher usage role than he's ever been in. Plus, last season before he got injured, he was actually averaging 24 points per game, which is right there. Next is the Milwaukee Bucks, and their bold prediction is that Giannis Antetokounmpo will request a trade. Okay, this one may not be that bold since it's been a talking point all summer, but Giannis is still one of the biggest names in the sport and an MVP caliber player who just is not in a situation where he will be able to do anything with his talents. The Bucks are a group that have gone out in the first round of the playoffs in back-to-back years, and now they don't even have Damian Lillard to take some of the offensive lead duties off of Giannis's shoulders. There's a very good chance this team is fighting to even make the play-in tournament, and if that starts to look like their reality, then Giannis will do what is best for his career. Next is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and their bold prediction is that Rob Dillingham wins the starting point guard job by the end of the season. Dillingham struggled to even hold a spot in the team's rotation as a rookie and was benched completely in the playoffs, so to go from that to being the starting point guard for a playoff contender requires a big leap, or a desperate swing from the coaching staff. I think the latter is actually somewhat likely because Mike Conley, for as great of a career as he has had, is now about to turn 38 years old and simply is not good enough to pilot a team with lofty aspirations. The Wolves will need an injection of energy at the point guard spot, and Dillingham has so much natural, raw playmaking talent that could breathe new life into the offense. They'll just need to make sure that they can trust him defensively first. Next is the New Orleans Pelicans, and their bold prediction is that Trey Murphy will emerge as their best player. Ever since Zion Williamson was drafted, the Pelicans have tried to build around him and make it his team, and while Zion has been great when he's been healthy and available, that just has not been the case for quite a bit of the last 6 years. Trey Murphy, meanwhile, was only expected to be a secondary 3-and-D wing when he was drafted, but his improvement has been pretty sizable in each of his 4 seasons, and after averaging 22 points per game last year, he proved he can be a much better creator on the ball than anyone anticipated. He's come back looking stronger and more explosive off the dribble, and with more rim pressures, defenses will be more hesitant to go all out on their closeouts, improving his overall shot quality across the board. Next is the New York Knicks, and their bold prediction is that Karl Anthony Towns will actually lead the team in scoring. This is Jalen Brunson's team, and it will always be Jalen Brunson's team, but with a new head coach, better backcourt depth, and more balanced rotations, Brunson's not going to have to do all of the brunt work that used to be on his plate. He'll be able to be more of a point guard, and with Towns, he averaged over 24 points per game last season, all while fans were begging him to be more involved in the offense than he was. Towns' three-point attempts per game were strangely down last year, despite knocking threes down at a career-best 42% clip, and again, with Mike Brown now being in charge, who has maximized the offensive capabilities of so many stars as the coach of the Kings, Warriors, Cavaliers, and Lakers in the past, I think his offense will unlock Towns even further. Next is the Oklahoma City Thunder, and their bold prediction is that Jalen Williams, or J-Will, the other Jalen Williams they have, will put up 5 triple-doubles this season. Last year, only 8 players in the whole NBA had 5 or more triple-doubles, so this may sound crazy, but J-Will had 2 triple-doubles in a 12-day stretch last season, and they came in the only 2 games of the year where he played over 30 minutes. Now, I'm not here predicting that he's going to play heavy minutes like that every night and be the starting center or anything like that, but he was dealing with a hamstring injury that held him out of the first 27 games last year, and because he started behind the 8 ball, he wasn't a fully consistent part of the team's rotation. Williams has so much talent on offense to tap into, as evidenced by the huge numbers he put up when he got to play extended minutes, and I like the odds of him being the full-time backup center this year in a bigger role. Next is the Orlando Magic, and their bold prediction is that Paolo Banchero will make first-team All-NBA this season. Making the All-NBA team is tough enough, but the first team is an honor pretty much always reserved for the elites. Banchero is on a superstar trajectory, improving his overall production every year of his career, and last season, he was putting up 26 points per game while being forced into some of the worst shot quality of attempts you will see. The Magic, to put it simply, were a pretty dreadful offense last year, as the worst-ranked offense amongst the teams that have made the playoffs, and the very worst three-point shooting team in the whole league. This year, they have addressed those weaknesses, bringing in Desmond Bane and Tyus Jones to help open things up, and that should make Banchero's life and overall shot diet attacking the basket much better. Next is the Philadelphia 76ers, and their bold prediction is that Tyrese Maxey averages 30 points per game. What I'm envisioning from Maxey is a similar season that Bradley Beal had at the end of his tenure with the Wizards, where Beal was putting up 30 a night trying his hardest to keep a sinking ship afloat. I think this will be the season where the guard changes to prioritize Maxey as the full-time number 1 option, regardless of Joel Embiid and Paul George being healthy, and last year he averaged about 26 per game, while having an uncharacteristically bad shooting year from 3, as Maxey hit just 33% of his shots from deep, despite being a career 40% three-point shooter prior to that. So if he can revert back to the mean a little bit, that's natural improvement without even needing that many more shot attempts in his diet. Next is the Phoenix Suns, and their bold prediction is that Devin Booker will be traded before the deadline. This summer could have easily been the time for Booker to ask out, with the Suns around him imploding, but he stayed loyal and insisted on staying to see it through, which has pretty much ended all trade rumors, at least for now. The truth is that the Suns are probably going to be a pretty bad basketball team this year, and in a loaded Western Conference, it just doesn't make sense for a superstar in the prime of his career to wither away on a team about to undergo a rebuild. He no longer fits their timeline, so it will end up being in the best interest of the team to shop him around, because the truth is, teams will be willing to pay a pretty penny to acquire Booker, and if the Suns are offered a handful of first-round picks and some young players with potential, that makes way more sense as an option to explore than keeping him. Next is the Portland Trail Blazers, and their bold prediction is that they will finish as a top 10 defense this season. The Blazers have been rebuilding for a few years now, and young, inexperienced teams aren't really supposed to be good at anything, let alone being on defense. The Blazers are still young and maybe a year away from putting together a fully competitive playoff hunt, but if there's one thing they are successfully building, it's a lockdown defensive core. Donovan Clingan was one of the league's best shot blockers as a backup center last season, and now he's stepping into the starting role. Toumani Camara was named to the all-defense team last year for his outstanding work as a versatile turnover generator and switchable lockdown defender. Jrue Holiday is back, providing his usual shutdown defense on the perimeter and can serve as a useful veteran to guide this young team, and Deni Avdija is a pretty strong wing defender in his own right. Next is the Sacramento Kings, and their bold prediction is that they will be the league's biggest sellers at the trade deadline. By this, I of course mean that they will end up trading away the most players in that period. Sacramento is back in limbo, not being bad enough to tank, but not being good enough to realistically be viewed as a playoff team in the West. They tried their hardest to put together a contender over the last few years, but after ending their playoff drought in 2023, they haven't been able to get back to the big dance since, peaking as a first-round exit. It's blatantly obvious that they are going to need to start another rebuild, which is unfortunate, but the truth hurts sometimes. Next is the San Antonio Spurs, and their bold prediction is that they will have the fastest pace of play in the NBA. When De'Aaron Fox's Sacramento Kings ranked as the league's #1 offense in the 2023 season, they also led the NBA in pace that year, and now the Spurs point guard happens to be De'Aaron Fox. He also happens to now be paired with a 7'4" demigod who loves to run the floor instead of a slow, bulky big man like Domantas Sabonis, who preferred to have the game slowed down and run in half-court sets. The Spurs are going to run hard and they're going to run often, and with the blazing speed of De'Aaron Fox and the freakish athleticism and size of Victor Wembanyama, they're going to make life hell for teams in transition. Next is the Toronto Raptors, and their bold prediction is that they will make the playoffs, but they will have the worst ranked offense of the teams that do. The Raptors are back on the front foot, pushing for a playoff run again after a brief rebuild, and with the addition of Brandon Ingram, they now think they have a roster that can compete. I like the length they have and the impactful defenders throughout their lineup, but this team's spacing is pretty abysmal, and I think the quality of shots that they'll be able to generate on a regular basis is going to be ugly. Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett are both capable 20-point scorers with below league average efficiency. Brandon Ingram is incredibly hot and cold, and Ochai Agbaji and Emmanuel Quickley are very literally the only players in their rotation that shoot above league average from 3. Next is the Utah Jazz, and their bold prediction is that both Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler get traded this year. These guys have been in trade rumors for a few years now, but things have officially stretched too far. There are still so many teams that are in need of help at the center position that will continue to come calling about Walker Kessler and his elite shot blocking and rebounding prowess inside, and to continually turn down worthwhile offers as a rebuilding team with no end in sight. You're only shooting yourself in the foot. The same goes for Lauri Markkanen, who the Jazz missed out on the chance to sell at his highest value after he made the All-Star team a few years ago, but his shot creation as a 7-footer is still going to be coveted by many playoff teams in the mix, and with him being 28 years old, in the prime of his career, he also just doesn't match the team's timeline at all. And finally, the last team is the Washington Wizards, and their bold prediction is that rookie Trey Johnson will lead the team in scoring. As a rookie, Johnson isn't even guaranteed to be in the starting lineup from day one, but this is a Wizards team with a pitiful offense that ranked dead last on that end last year, and while CJ McCollum may objectively be a better player right now, the team's priority is to develop Trey Johnson as fast as possible and give him the full green light from the get-go. Trey may be the best pure shot maker in this rookie class, and he dominated the Summer League, putting the talent on display. So with all of that being in his favor, he can ultimately be this team's go-to guy by the end of the season. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what your bold predictions for the new season are. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.